Have you ever wondered why some people seem so at peace, so in tune with the world around them? It's not because they found some magical solution to life's problems. No, their secret is much simpler, yet far more powerful. These highly spiritual people have learned the art of letting go. They've discovered that true growth often comes not from adding more to their lives, but from slowly and mindfully removing certain things. Today, we're going to explore 6 surprising things that spiritually advanced individuals gradually quit. These aren't easy changes, and they don't happen overnight. But as we'll see, the journey of letting go can lead to profound transformation. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I thought spiritual growth was about becoming more, not less? And you'd be right in a way. But here's the thing. Sometimes, to become more, we need to let go of what's holding us back. It's like cleaning out a cluttered room. At first, it might seem like you're losing things, but once the space is clear, you realize how much more room you have to breathe, to think, to be. Letting go of these 6 things isn't about depriving yourself. It's about making space for something better. It's about removing the obstacles that stand between you and your highest self. And here's the really important part. This isn't about sudden, drastic changes. The most spiritually attuned people understand that lasting change happens slowly, gradually. They know that rushing to quit these things all at once is likely to lead to frustration and failure. Instead, they take their time, allowing each change to settle in and become a natural part of their lives. This gradual approach is key. It's like learning to play an instrument or mastering a new language. You don't become fluent overnight. You practice a little each day, and over time, what once seemed impossible becomes second nature. The same is true for spiritual growth. By slowly letting go of these 6 things, you're not just making temporary changes, you're rewiring your brain, shifting your perspective, and fundamentally altering your relationship with the world around you. Before we dive deep into each item on our list, let's take a quick look at what's in store. These are the 6 things that highly spiritual people gradually quit. The need to always be right. The habit of judging others, the fear of being alone, the attachment to material possessions, the pursuit of constant happiness, the resistance to change. Now, at first glance, some of these might not seem like big deals. You might even be thinking, I don't really do those things. But as we explore each one, you'll start to see how deeply ingrained these habits and mindsets can be. You'll also begin to understand why letting go of them can be so transformative. Each of these items represents a different kind of mental or emotional clutter. They're the things that hold us back, that keep us stuck in old patterns, that prevent us from experiencing the full richness of life. By slowly releasing our grip on them, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, deeper connections, and a more authentic way of being in the world. As we go through each item, remember that this isn't about perfection. Even the most spiritually advanced people aren't completely free of these things all the time. The goal isn't to eliminate them entirely, but to loosen their hold on us, to create space for something better to grow in their place. So, are you ready to start this journey of letting go? Are you curious to see how releasing these 6 things could transform your life? Then let's begin with the first item on our list, the need to always be right. Think back to the last argument you had. Maybe it was with a friend, a family member, or a coworker. Can you remember what it was about? More importantly, can you remember how it felt? Chances are, it wasn't a great feeling. Your heart was probably racing, your muscles tense, your mind whirling with all the reasons why you were right and the other person was wrong. Now, here's a question. Was being right in that moment worth the stress, the tension, the potential damage to your relationship? For many of us, the automatic answer is yes. We've been taught from a young age that being right is important, that it's a sign of intelligence and strength. But highly spiritual people have learned a different lesson. They've discovered that always needing to be right is actually a form of ego-driven behavior that causes more harm than good. When we're fixated on being right, we close ourselves off to new ideas and perspectives. We stop listening to others, really listening, because we're too busy formulating our next argument. We miss out on opportunities to learn, to grow, to see the world through someone else's eyes. And in the process, we often damage our relationships and increase our own stress levels. Letting go of the need to always be right doesn't mean becoming a pushover or never standing up for what you believe in. It simply means recognizing that there's often more than one right answer, that other people's perspectives are just as valid as our own, and that sometimes being kind is more important than being right. So how do spiritually advanced people start to let go of this need? They practice humility. They cultivate curiosity. When they find themselves in a disagreement, instead of immediately jumping to defend their position, they pause. They take a deep breath. They ask themselves, is being right in this moment really that important? What might I learn if I open myself to another perspective? They also practice saying these powerful words, I don't know, and you might be right. It's amazing how liberating these simple phrases can be. They take the pressure off always having to have the answer, always having to be the smartest person in the room. They open up space for genuine dialogue and connection. Over time, as they practice letting go of the need to be right, these individuals find that their relationships improve. They have more meaningful conversations. They learn new things. And perhaps most importantly, they feel a sense of peace and ease that comes from not always having to defend their position. Remember, this change doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of catching yourself in those moments of wanting to prove your rightness, of choosing curiosity over certainty, of valuing connection over correctness. But with practice, it becomes easier. And the rewards, deeper relationships, less stress, more personal growth, are well worth the effort. We all do it. Whether we like to admit it or not, judging others is a habit that's deeply ingrained in most of us. We judge people based on how they look, how they speak, what they wear, what they do for a living. We make snap decisions about someone's character based on a fleeting interaction or a social media post. It's almost automatic, isn't it? But here's the thing. This habit of constant judgment isn't just harmful to others. It's harmful to us too. It creates separation. It reinforces our own biases and preconceptions. It closes us off from truly connecting with the rich diversity of human experience that surrounds us. Highly spiritual people understand this. They recognize that every time they judge another person, they're really just projecting their own fears, insecurities, and limited understanding onto someone else. They see that judging others is often a way of making ourselves feel better, of propping up our own ego by putting others down. So, how do they begin to let go of this habit? It starts with awareness. They pay attention to their thoughts, noticing when they're slipping into judgment. Maybe they're at the grocery store, and they find themselves mentally criticizing how someone is dressed. Or they're scrolling through social media, silently condemning someone's lifestyle choices. The first step is simply to notice these thoughts without beating themselves up over them. Once they've developed this awareness, they start to question their judgments. They ask themselves, do I really know this person's whole story? Am I seeing the full picture? What might be going on in their life that I can't see? This practice of questioning helps to create a little space between the automatic judgment and their response to it. Another powerful practice is cultivating empathy and compassion. Instead of immediately jumping to criticism, they try to put themselves in the other person's shoes. They consider what it might be like to walk through the world as that person, facing their unique challenges and circumstances. Highly spiritual people also work on extending the same compassion to themselves that they're learning to extend to others. They recognize that we often judge in others the things we're most insecure about in ourselves. By practicing self-compassion and acceptance, they naturally become less judgmental of others. As they gradually let go of the habit of judging others, these individuals often report feeling a sense of lightness and freedom. They're no longer carrying the heavy burden of constantly evaluating and categorizing everyone around them. They're able to move through the world with more openness, more curiosity, more acceptance. This doesn't mean they never have judgmental thoughts. Remember, this is a gradual process. But over time, they're able to notice these thoughts more quickly, to question them more readily, and to let them go more easily. They're able to see people more clearly, to appreciate the complex, nuanced beings that we all are. The result? Richer, more authentic relationships, a greater sense of connection to the world around them, and a deeper understanding of the fundamental truth that we're all in this together, each of us doing our best with the hand we've been dealt. In our hyper-connected world, the idea of being alone can seem almost foreign. We're constantly surrounded by noise, by notifications, by the endless chatter of social media. Many of us fill every moment of silence with something: music, podcasts, TV shows. We keep ourselves busy, always doing, always connected. But why? Often, it's because we're afraid of what we might find in the quiet. We're afraid of being alone with our thoughts, our feelings, our true selves. This fear of being alone is something that many people struggle with, but it's also something that highly spiritual individuals learn to let go of over time. Now, it's important to understand that letting go of the fear of being alone doesn't mean becoming a hermit or cutting yourself off from others. Humans are social creatures, and meaningful connections with others are an essential part of a fulfilling life. What it does mean is becoming comfortable with solitude, learning to enjoy and value time spent alone. So why is this important? Because it's in moments of solitude that we often find our deepest insights, our most creative ideas, our truest sense of self. When we're constantly surrounded by noise and distraction, it's easy to lose touch with our inner voice, with our own thoughts and feelings. We can become so caught up in the opinions and expectations of others that we forget who we really are. Highly spiritual people understand this. They see solitude not as something to be feared, but as a gift, a chance to reconnect with themselves, to recharge, to reflect. They gradually learn to appreciate the peace and clarity that can come from spending time alone. But how do they begin to let go of this fear? It often starts small. They might begin by setting aside a few minutes each day for quiet reflection. No phone, no TV, no distractions. Just sitting with themselves, observing their thoughts and feelings without judgment. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. They might notice an urge to reach for their phone or to turn on some music. But over time, they learn to sit with that discomfort, to breathe through it. They also start to reframe their understanding of what it means to be alone. Instead of seeing it as a negative state, as being lonely or isolated, they begin to see it as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. They use their alone time to pursue interests and hobbies that truly resonate with them, not just those that are popular or expected. Another important aspect of letting go of the fear of being alone is learning to enjoy one's own company. Highly spiritual people often cultivate a sense of curiosity about themselves. They become interested in their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. They learn to treat themselves with the same kindness and interest they would show to a good friend. As they become more comfortable with solitude, these individuals often find that their relationships with others actually improve. Why? Because they're no longer coming from a place of neediness or fear. They're not relying on others to fill a void or to distract them from themselves. Instead, they're able to enter into relationships from a place of wholeness and authenticity. They also discover that there's a big difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling of disconnection, of isolation. But being alone, when embraced, can be a state of peaceful solitude, of being complete in oneself. This process of letting go of the fear of being alone is gradual. It doesn't happen overnight. There might be moments of discomfort, of wanting to fall back into old patterns of constant distraction. But with practice, with patience, highly spiritual people find that they not only lose their fear of being alone, they actually start to cherish their solitude. They discover that in the quiet moments, in the spaces between the noise, there's a deep well of peace, creativity, and self-understanding waiting to be tapped. And as they learn to draw from this well, they find themselves better equipped to navigate the challenges of life, more in tune with their true selves, and more genuinely connected to the world around them. In our consumer-driven world, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that happiness comes from owning things. We're bombarded with messages telling us that if we just buy this new gadget, or wear that brand of clothes, or drive that car, we'll finally be content. But highly spiritual people have learned a profound truth. True fulfillment doesn't come from what we own, but from who we are and how we live. Letting go of attachment to material possessions doesn't mean getting rid of everything you own and living like a monk. It's about changing your relationship with things. It's about recognizing that objects are just objects. They can be useful, they can be beautiful, but they don't define us, and they can't fill the deeper needs of our hearts and souls. So how do spiritually advanced people start to loosen their grip on material things? It often begins with a simple question. Do I own this thing, or does it own me? They start to notice how much time, energy, and worry they spend on acquiring, maintaining, and protecting their possessions. They begin to see how the pursuit of more and more stuff can distract them from what really matters: relationships, experiences, personal growth. They practice gratitude for what they already have, rather than always focusing on what they lack. This shift in perspective can be incredibly powerful. Instead of constantly thinking about the next thing they want to buy, they take time each day to appreciate what's already in their lives. They might keep a gratitude journal, or simply pause before meals to give thanks for the food on their table and the roof over their heads. Another important step is learning to distinguish between needs and wants. Highly spiritual people understand that many of the things we think we need are actually just wants, shaped by advertising and social pressure. They start to question their impulses to buy, asking themselves, do I really need this? Will it truly add value to my life? They also begin to find joy in experiences rather than things. Instead of spending money on the latest gadget, they might invest in a trip to someplace they've always wanted to visit. They discover that the memories and personal growth that come from experiences last far longer than the fleeting happiness of a new purchase. Letting go of attachment to possessions also involves learning to share and give freely. Highly spiritual people often find that the joy of giving away something they no longer need far outweighs the pleasure of acquiring something new. They might practice regular decluttering, donating items they no longer use to those who need them more. As they gradually loosen their attachment to material things, these individuals often report feeling a sense of lightness and freedom. They're no longer weighed down by the constant desire for more, or the fear of losing what they have. They find that with fewer material distractions, they have more time and energy to focus on what truly matters to them. This doesn't mean they never buy anything or enjoy nice things. The key is that their happiness and sense of self-worth are no longer tied to what they own. They can appreciate beautiful or useful objects without being defined by them or enslaved to them. Over time, as they continue this practice of non-attachment, highly spiritual people often find that their lives become simpler but richer. They discover that true wealth isn't about having lots of stuff, but about having enough. Enough to meet their needs, enough to share with others, enough to live a life aligned with their deepest values. We live in a world that seems obsessed with the idea of happiness. Everywhere we look, there are books, courses, and products promising to make us happier. Social media is full of smiling faces and picture-perfect moments. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we should be happy all the time, and that if we're not, something must be wrong with us. But highly spiritual people have learned an important truth. The pursuit of constant happiness is not only unrealistic, it can actually make us more unhappy in the long run. They understand that life is full of ups and downs, joys and sorrows, and that true well-being comes not from trying to be happy all the time, but from learning to embrace the full spectrum of human emotions. So how do they begin to let go of this pursuit of constant happiness? It often starts with acceptance of the fact that negative emotions are a normal, natural part of the human experience. Instead of trying to push away feelings of sadness, anger, or fear, they learn to sit with these emotions, to observe them without judgment. They practice mindfulness, staying present with whatever they're experiencing in the moment, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. This doesn't mean wallowing in negative feelings, but rather acknowledging them, understanding where they're coming from, and letting them pass naturally. Highly spiritual people also work on redefining what happiness means to them. Instead of seeing it as a constant state of excitement or pleasure, they begin to understand it as a deeper sense of contentment and peace that can coexist with other emotions. They learn to find joy in simple, everyday moments: a beautiful sunset, a kind word from a friend, a warm cup of tea on a cold day. Another important aspect of letting go of the pursuit of constant happiness is learning to find meaning and purpose in all experiences, even the difficult ones. They understand that challenges and setbacks are often opportunities for growth and learning. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they might ask, "What can I learn from this?" They also practice gratitude, not just for the good things in their lives, but for the challenges as well. They understand that it's often the difficult experiences that shape us, that make us stronger and more compassionate. As they gradually let go of the need to be happy all the time, these individuals often find that they actually become more content overall. Why? Because they're no longer constantly comparing their emotional state to some idealized version of happiness. They're able to fully experience and appreciate the richness of life, with all its complexities and contradictions. This doesn't mean they never seek to improve their mood or situation. The difference is that they do so from a place of self-acceptance and understanding, rather than from a belief that they should always feel a certain way. Over time, as they continue this practice, highly spiritual people often develop a sense of equanimity, a calm, stable state of mind that isn't easily swayed by the ups and downs of life. They're able to find peace and contentment even in the midst of challenges, not because they're ignoring negative emotions, but because they've learned to embrace all aspects of their experience. Change is a constant in life. Seasons change, people change, circumstances change. Yet for many of us, change can be scary. We get comfortable in our routines, in our ways of thinking and doing things. We cling to what's familiar, even when it's no longer serving us well. But highly spiritual people have learned that resistance to change is often the source of much of our suffering. Letting go of resistance to change doesn't mean you have to love every change that comes your way. It doesn't mean you can't have preferences or work towards specific goals. What it does mean is developing a more flexible, adaptable approach to life. One that allows you to flow with change rather than constantly fighting against it. So how do spiritually advanced people start to let go of this resistance? It often begins with awareness. They start to notice when they're digging in their heels, when they're reacting with fear or anger to the prospect of change. They observe these reactions without judgment, understanding that it's a natural human tendency to want to stick with what's known and comfortable. They practice reframing change as an opportunity rather than a threat. Instead of thinking, "Why is this happening to me?" they might ask, "What possibilities does this open up?" They try to approach change with curiosity, wondering what they might learn or how they might grow from new experiences. Highly spiritual people also work on developing trust. Trust in themselves, trust in the process of life. They understand that while they can't control everything that happens to them, they can control how they respond. They cultivate a belief that whatever comes their way, they have the inner resources to handle it. Another important aspect of letting go of resistance to change is learning to live more in the present moment. When we're constantly worrying about potential future changes or clinging to how things were in the past, we miss out on the richness of what's happening right now. Highly spiritual people practice mindfulness, focusing their attention on the present moment rather than getting caught up in anxieties about what might change. They also learn to distinguish between what they can control and what they can't. Energy spent resisting inevitable changes is energy wasted. Instead, they focus on what they can influence, their own attitudes, actions, and responses to change. As they gradually let go of their resistance to change, these individuals often find that life becomes more of an adventure. They're more open to new experiences, new ideas, new ways of doing things. They discover that change, while sometimes challenging, can also bring fresh energy, new perspectives, and unexpected opportunities. This doesn't mean they never feel apprehensive about change. The difference is that they don't let that apprehension paralyze them or cause them to cling desperately to the status quo. They've learned to sit with the discomfort that can come with change, to breathe through it, to trust in their ability to adapt and grow. Over time, as they continue this practice of embracing change, highly spiritual people often develop a sense of resilience and flexibility that serves them well in all areas of life. They're able to navigate life's ups and downs with more grace and ease, not because they never face challenges, but because they've learned to dance with change rather than fight against it. They discover that in letting go of resistance, in opening themselves up to the flow of life, they tap into a deep well of creativity and potential. They find that change, far from being something to fear, can be a powerful catalyst for personal growth and transformation. As we've journeyed through these 6 things that highly spiritual people gradually quit, you might have noticed a common thread running through them all. Each one, in its own way, is about letting go. Letting go of control, of judgment, of fear, of attachment, of unrealistic expectations, and of resistance. And in that letting go, something beautiful happens. Space is created for growth, for peace, for a deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. Remember, this isn't about sudden, drastic changes. The most spiritually attuned individuals understand that true, lasting transformation happens slowly, one small step at a time. They know that it's not about perfection, but about progress. They still have moments of wanting to be right, of judging others, of fearing solitude, of clinging to possessions, of chasing constant happiness, or of resisting change. The difference is in how they respond to these moments. Instead of getting caught up in guilt or self-criticism, they approach these challenges with compassion and curiosity. They see each instance as an opportunity to practice, to learn, to grow. They understand that spiritual growth is not a destination, but a journey, one that lasts a lifetime. As you reflect on these 6 areas in your own life, be gentle with yourself. You don't need to tackle everything at once. Perhaps there's one area that resonates with you more strongly right now. That might be a good place to start. Remember, even small changes, consistently applied over time, can lead to profound transformation. Consider keeping a journal to track your progress. Write about the challenges you face, the insights you gain, the small victories you achieve along the way. This can be a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth. Also, don't be afraid to seek support on this journey. While much of spiritual growth is deeply personal, having a community of like-minded individuals can provide encouragement, insights, and a sense of shared purpose. This might be a spiritual group, a meditation class, or simply a few close friends who are also interested in personal growth. As you begin to let go of these 6 things, the need to always be right, the habit of judging others, the fear of being alone, the attachment to material possessions, the pursuit of constant happiness, and the resistance to change, you may find that your life starts to shift in subtle but profound ways. You might notice that you feel more at peace, more connected to others and to the world around you. You might find that you're more resilient in the face of life's challenges, more open to new experiences and perspectives. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate these things entirely. That would be unrealistic. The goal is to loosen their hold on you, to create space for something new to emerge. It's about developing a new relationship with yourself, with others, and with life itself. In closing, I invite you to approach this journey with an open heart and an open mind. Be curious about what you might discover as you slowly let go of these 6 things. Trust in your own innate wisdom and capacity for growth. And above all, be patient and kind with yourself along the way. Your path of spiritual growth is uniquely yours. It will have its ups and downs, its challenges, and its breakthroughs. But as you continue to practice letting go, you may find that you're gradually becoming more of who you truly are, more authentic, more compassionate, more alive. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of spiritual growth. I hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Remember, every step you take on this path, no matter how small, is valuable and worthy of celebration. Here's to your journey of letting go, and to all the beautiful possibilities that await you as you do. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Share it with anyone you think might benefit from these insights. And I'd love to hear about your own experiences with letting go and spiritual growth. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, may your journey be filled with peace, growth, and discovery.